Listen here, Mumbles.
Oh my.
4 words, that is all it took. Respect the bus driver. Shaquille O'Neal typed that response in January 2023 and the entire NBA internet collapsed. No paragraph, no breakdown, no stats, just 4 words that somehow said everything. And the wild part, those 4 words did not come out of nowhere. They were the result of years of tension, a generational rivalry over legacy, and one question that has followed Kevin Durant for nearly a decade. Is he actually one of the greatest of all time, or is he simply one of the greatest to ever ride in the right seat? This is not just a beef story. This is a legacy story. It is a story about what separates Hall of Famers from GOATs, what separates passengers from drivers, and why in 2026, with LeBron James still competing at 41 years old, the conversation around KD's place in basketball history is becoming more complicated, not less. We are only a few hundred subscribers away from 1,500 on Hoop Action TV, and if you have been rocking with the channel, right now is the time to hit subscribe, drop a like, and share this video with anyone who takes the NBA legacy debate seriously. Every share puts this breakdown in front of real basketball fans. Now let us get into it. Kevin Durant is 36 years old. He is on his 4th franchise. He has played for Oklahoma City, Golden State, Brooklyn, and now Phoenix. The championship window is not closed yet, but it is no longer wide open either. And yet when people talk about pure talent, pure scoring ability, the conversation around KD does not shrink. It cannot. He is 6 feet 10 inches tall, with the ball handling of a guard, the shooting touch of an assassin, and the ability to score from literally anywhere on the floor. Those are facts that do not require debate. He finished Game 7 of the 2019 Finals with a torn Achilles and still scored 11 points. That is how real his toughness is. He averaged 38 points and 10 rebounds per game in the playoffs during the Golden State years. He won 2 NBA championships, both with the Warriors, earned 2 Finals MVP awards, and played at a level that had people seriously asking if he had surpassed LeBron James. That conversation was real. It was not manufactured. The talent is undeniable, and that is where this whole debate gets complicated, because here is the problem. Outside of Golden State, KD's postseason record tells a completely different story. Outside of the Warriors system, he has 57 wins and 50 losses in the playoffs, 0 championships. He was swept by the Boston Celtics in 2022. He was swept by the Phoenix Suns opponents in 2023. First-round exits have become a pattern. And the question that keeps surfacing is not about his scoring average or his efficiency rating. The question is about who he is as a franchise cornerstone, and whether the rings he won reflect his leadership or the system he was placed in. That tension is exactly where Shaquille O'Neal stepped in. In a recent episode of his podcast, Shaq delivered what might be the most precise 3-sentence legacy verdict any former player has ever given about a contemporary. His take on KD was not disrespectful, it was surgical. He said that Kevin Durant has his own special category, then added, "I think he has his own special category like me." Shaq's point was not that KD is overrated. His point was that dominant scorer and GOAT are not the same category. What Shaq laid out is actually a framework that makes complete sense when you study the history of the game. There is Jordan, there is LeBron. And then there is a tier just beneath them that is still elite, still legendary, but separated by something that cannot be measured in points per game. Shaq placed himself in that tier. He placed KD in that tier, and the distinction he was drawing was not about rings alone. It was about what kind of player you were when everything was on the line and there was no safety net beneath you. Shaq's credibility to make this claim is not borrowed. He won 4 NBA championships. He was the Finals MVP 3 consecutive times with the Lakers. He was the undisputed center of gravity on every team he led. When the Orlando Magic built around him, he was the engine. When the Los Angeles Lakers built a dynasty, it started with Shaq. When he went to Miami, he and Dwayne Wade won a championship together. In every chapter, he was the reason the team was dangerous. That is the standard he is applying, and that is why his words carry weight in this debate. But the beef between Shaq and KD did not start in 2023. It started years earlier, and it started over something that had nothing to do with either of them directly. Back in 2017, Shaq was regularly clowning JaVale McGee in the Shaq Tin A Fool segment on TNT. The segment highlighted bloopers and mistakes from around the league, and McGee was a frequent target. Kevin Durant did not like it. He called it childish. He said it was disrespectful to a professional athlete and that the segment crossed a line. That would have been the end of it, except KD did not stop there. He escalated. He went after Shaq's game directly, saying he missed dunks, he airballed free throws, he couldn't shoot outside the paint. He was big and stronger than everybody. Read that again. Kevin Durant, who at the time had 0 championship rings, decided to critique the resume of a 4-time NBA champion, Hall of Famer, and 3-time Finals MVP. Shaq's response was ice cold. He did not yell, he did not ramble, he simply said, "You ain't in the club yet, you're on the outside in line with Barkley, Malone, and Stockton." That line was not just a comeback, it was a generational classification. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and John Stockton are 3 of the most talented players in NBA history, and not one of them won a championship. Shaq was telling KD exactly where he was standing in the hierarchy, and at that point the placement was accurate. The irony is sharp. KD challenged a champion's legacy while standing on the outside of championship success himself. That decision defined the dynamic of everything that came after. Now, to understand why Shaq's criticism landed so hard and why it has never fully gone away, you have to go back to May 2016. The Oklahoma City Thunder were up 3-1 over the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. The Warriors had just finished the greatest regular season in NBA history, going 73-9, and the Thunder had them on the ropes. Game 5 came and Kevin Durant dropped 40 points, and the Thunder still lost. That loss opened the door. Game 6, KD shot 10 for 31 from the field, ice cold in a must-win moment on the road. Game 7 arrived and the combined turnovers between KD and Russell Westbrook reached 30 turnovers in a Game 7. Golden State came back, won the series, and went on to win the NBA championship. 2 months after that collapse, Kevin Durant announced he was signing with the Golden State Warriors. Let that sit for a second. You lose a 3-1 lead, you lose Game 7, and then 2 months later you join the team that beat you. Shaq broke this down clearly. You were up 3-1, you lose, then you join that team. You can't do that. That is not an opinion about effort or talent. That is a statement about competitive spirit and the path a player chooses when facing the hardest moments of his career. Jordan did not join the bad boy Pistons after Detroit kept knocking him out. LeBron James did not recruit players to make it easier in Cleveland. They came back, they improved, and they broke through. That is the standard. And KD's decision in the summer of 2016 became the single most defining moment of his legacy narrative, not because joining a good team is wrong, but because of which team he joined and why he joined them. This brings us to the core of Shaq's argument, the bus driver metaphor. And to understand it fully, you have to look at how each man built his legacy from the ground up. Shaq entered the NBA with the Orlando Magic and immediately became the engine of that franchise. He was not handed an already constructed contender. He built with Penny Hardaway. He took that team to the NBA Finals in 1995. Then he moved to Los Angeles and built a dynasty alongside Kobe Bryant, 3 consecutive championships from 2000 to 2002. He was the driver. When he went to Miami in 2004, he and Wade won a championship in 2006. In every city, in every chapter, Shaq was the reason the machine ran. Kevin Durant's championship story reads differently. When he arrived in Golden State in 2016, the Warriors had already been to back-to-back finals, winning one of them. The team had Stephen Curry, a 2-time reigning MVP, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and one of the most sophisticated offensive systems in NBA history. KD did not start that engine. He climbed into the passenger seat of a vehicle already moving at full speed, and the numbers support this. Outside the Golden State system, KD's playoff success rate dropped sharply. 57 wins, 50 losses, no championships, multiple sweeps. The contrast between his performance inside that system and his performance outside it is too consistent to dismiss as coincidence. The bus driver metaphor is this simple. Shaq drove the bus, KD rode it. One man built the machine, the other man benefited from it. And in the GOAT conversation, that distinction matters enormously. Fast forward to January 2023. KD posted a tweet questioning whether Shaq knew who a particular Lakers trade target was. He wrote, "Shaq will don't know ball." The comment was pointed, it was public, and it was aimed directly at one of the most decorated players in NBA history. Shaq did not need a paragraph to respond. He typed 4 words, "Respect the bus driver." The internet exploded, not because the line was complex, but because it was perfectly accurate. It referenced every previous conversation they had ever had. It called back to 2016. It called back to 2017. It answered every argument KD had made about Shaq's game with a single sentence that said, "I drove the bus, you rode it, know the difference." KD's response was, "Damn, I got cooked for asking a simple question." It was meant to sound casual, like he was brushing it off, but it did not land because the simple question was not actually simple. It was a direct attack on a legend's knowledge of the game, and the response it received was proportional. But here is where the pattern becomes important. Kevin Durant's online behavior over the years has been a consistent subplot in his legacy story. The burner accounts confirmed in 2017, where he argued with fans about himself in the third person. The responses to teenagers on Twitter. The ongoing social media disputes with people who have no platform, no rings, and no stakes in the conversation. For every moment where his talent speaks on the court, there have been moments online where the behavior has undermined the image of a player who claims to be in the GOAT conversation. Compare that to how Shaq handled Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's criticism of him early in his career. Kareem told a young Shaq that he was not in the club yet, and Shaq's response was not to log onto any platform and argue back. He went to work, he studied, he dominated, and then he got 4 rings. That is the generational code. Older legends responded with results. They let their play be the answer. Kevin Durant's pattern has been different. The response has often come through the phone, not through the game. And in a legacy conversation that is built on what you did when it mattered most, that difference is not insignificant. On April 29, 2026, LeBron James sat down for an interview with ESPN's Dave McMenamin. And what he said in that interview added a new layer to this entire debate. LeBron stated that he never compared himself to Michael Jordan because their games are totally different. He called himself a one of one, a player whose combination of size, vision, scoring, and playmaking had no direct historical parallel. He did not place himself above Jordan. He also did not place himself below him. He praised Jordan's mid-range game, his will to win, his determination, and said, "I hope I made him proud wearing number 23. Those statements carry weight in the KD debate for a specific reason. LeBron James is 41 years old and is currently playing at all-star level in 2026. The Lakers are up 3-1 on the Houston Rockets in the first round of the playoffs. If LeBron wins another championship this season, he will have done something no player in NBA history has ever done at his age, and the GOAT conversation will shift again. Here's what that shift means for KD. If LeBron wins another ring at 41, he pushes the ceiling of what greatness looks like even higher. And Kevin Durant at 36 is still searching for his first ring as an undisputed franchise leader. The contrast is not subtle. LeBron at 41 is still rewriting longevity. KD at 36 is being told by a generation of legends that he is not yet in the club. That is not a comfortable place to be in a legacy debate. And every additional early exit, every additional season that ends without a deep dominant run, adds more weight to the argument Shaq made with 4 words. The standard that Kevin Durant is being held to is not arbitrary. It is the standard that every player who claims a place in the GOAT conversation has been held to. Michael Jordan spent years being physically dominated by the bad boy Detroit Pistons. They knocked him out of the playoffs in 1988, 1989, and 1990. He did not request a trade to Detroit. He did not recruit Isaiah Thomas to Chicago. He went back to the gym, he evolved his game, and in 1991 the Bulls finally broke through. Jordan won 6 championships in 6 finals appearances, never losing in the finals once. That is the standard. LeBron James took a team to the NBA Finals in 2007 at 22 years old, a team that had no business being there, and lost in a sweep to the San Antonio Spurs. He went back, he built. He went to Miami, won 2 championships, came back to Cleveland, and delivered the greatest comeback in NBA Finals history in 2016, coming back from 3-1 down against those same 73-win Warriors. That is the standard. Kobe Bryant proved he could win as the clear, undisputed #1 option. After Shaq left, people questioned whether Kobe could carry a team alone. His answer was 2 consecutive championships in 2009 and 2010 as the unquestioned leader. That is the standard. GOAT status is not a scoring title. It is not an efficiency metric. It is about leadership, resilience, and the ability to be the one who carries the weight when there is nothing left to fall back on. KD's career has 2 distinct chapters. In Golden State, he was unstoppable. The system worked perfectly around him, and he performed at an all-time level. Outside of Golden State, the record is 57 wins and 50 losses in the playoffs, 0 championships, and multiple sweeps. The honest question, the question that defines this entire debate, is whether Kevin Durant can be the foundation, not just the finisher. Can he be the person who builds the structure, not just the person who arrives when the structure is already standing? That question does not have an answer yet, but every season that passes without one makes the uncertainty louder. At 36 years old, the timeline is real. Every season that ends in an early exit is not just a missed opportunity. It is a data point. It is evidence in an ongoing case, and right now the evidence is stacking against the GOAT argument. But the story is not over. That is not a consolation line. It is a basketball fact. One championship run as a clear, undeniable leader changes the entire framing. One deep playoff run where KD is the reason, not the beneficiary, shifts the narrative permanently. Careers have been redefined by single moments. LeBron's 2016 did it. Jordan's 1991 did it. One defining run is all it takes to rewrite a legacy. The bus driver label is not assigned by voters or analysts. It is proven through results. Shaq proved it with 4 championships across 3 franchises. LeBron is still proving it at 41. The path is open. But the window is narrowing with every season, and the clock is not slowing down for anyone. Kevin Durant is locked in as one of the 2 or 3 greatest scorers the game has ever produced. That is not in debate. The footwork, the release, the court vision, the ability to score in every single way imaginable, that is historically rare and universally acknowledged. But the GOAT conversation operates on a different set of criteria. And right now in 2026, Shaq, LeBron, and the historical record are aligned on the same conclusion. The talent is elite. The legacy is incomplete. Does KD have one more chapter in him? Or is this how the story ends? That is exactly what we want to hear from you. Drop your answer in the comments right now. Does Kevin Durant belong in the GOAT conversation, or is Shaq right? And if LeBron James wins another ring this season at 41 years old, where does that leave KD's legacy permanently? This is the debate that does not have a clean answer, and that is exactly why it belongs in the comments. We are pushing toward 1,500 subscribers on Hoop Action TV, and every single one matters. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, hit subscribe, drop a like, and share this video with someone who argues about NBA legacy. The channel is built for exactly these conversations, and we are just getting started. Share the video, comment your take, let us keep the debate going. If you enjoy real NBA breakdowns like this, you will like what is coming next.